What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, we here with another one here with how do Europe and the United States compare. This is probably the first video I see about comparison between the two countries, but always the first time for everything. So we finna see these comparisons. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations. General knowledge.
Europe. One continent, 44 countries, according to the UN, and 746 million people. The United States are part of North America, only one country with 329 million people, less than half of Europe. The United States are often compared to the European Union or Europe as a whole a lot of times. So in this video, I thought it would be interesting to take a look at a few indicators and check how it is that they in fact compare. We've already covered a few of the basics, amount of countries and population, but what about size? The United States have an area of around 9.8 million square kilometers, while Europe has a size of around 10.5 million. Although this can vary depending on which limits you attribute to the continent. So now that we've covered all of those basics, let's jump into a few specific indicators and find out how the two compare. First, comparing the latitude. It's very interesting to see the overlay of the European cities on top of the US territory and vice versa. For instance, as stupid as it may sound, I had no idea Reykjavik was as further north as northern Canada. The same applies to Oslo. It makes sense that Portuguese and Spanish cities are on the same level as California, at least climate-wise, but it's weird, for instance, that Ankara is at the same level as Delaware. For some reason, I always thought it was so much further south. It's also strange to see that Los Angeles is on the same latitude as Algeria in North Africa, or that New York is at the same latitude as Azerbaijan. Speaking of Portugal, Spain, and California, how do the US and Europe compare when it comes to the hours of sunlight they get every year? Through this map, we understand that the Southwest USA gets more hours of sun than anywhere in Europe, over 3,500.
Man, I'm surprised that ain't a little further down in Texas, because we be getting, but then again, Texas weather different. I'm surprised it ain't all the colors, to be honest.
A year. And unlike Europe, there's nowhere in the US that gets less than 1,800 hours of sun, as is the case in many areas of Europe, those in light green, blue, and dark blue. It's also odd, at least to me who isn't an expert on this matter, how the amount of hours of sun isn't directly related to the latitude of the region. I always assume that the closer to the equator you are, the more hours of sun you get, but we can see on this map that this isn't the case at all, even though we can tell that usually southern areas get more sun. If you know which other factors determine hours of sun, let me know in the comments. Another interesting topic is human development. The United States and Europe are arguably two of the most developed areas of the world. This map compares the Human Development Index of each US state and each European country. In case you don't know, the HDI is calculated as the geometric mean of life expectancy, education, and gross national income per capita. Assuming that those indicators are representative of the quality of life of people, it seeks to measure precisely that. In the United States, there's only one state that doesn't make it into the top 3 HDI categories, Mississippi. When we look at Europe, only a handful of countries are in the top ranking: Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Ireland, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland. And when you look at Eastern Europe, these levels go significantly down, with many countries in the lowest category, such as Ukraine, Turkey, Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Albania, and North Macedonia. In Western Europe, Portugal is the only country who isn't in the top 3 levels of HDI. A somewhat subjective comparison of these two areas.
I thought Portugal was up there. Maybe I need to go back and look at that video. I thought Portugal made a good amount of a certain amount of money and stuff like that.
Also depicted in this other map. This is based in a 2014 Pew Research Center poll. It's almost 10 years old, so the data might be somewhat outdated and no longer valid. Always keep that in mind for these types of videos where data and maps are presented. The data might not be 100% right and it might be outdated. But in this one, people were asked if they are absolutely certain of God's existence. And the comparison of the results between the US and Europe is astonishing. The majority of US states have over 50% of people being certain of God's existence, some even surpassing 70%, those in dark blue. Only Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts have results under 50%, while most of Europe is much less certain in their belief of God. Most of the continent is in yellow, with only 10 to 29% being certain of their belief. Portugal, Poland, Slovakia, Lithuania, and Ukraine, along with Bulgaria, go up to 30 or 49%, but still not reaching over half of the population. The rest of the Balkans is more religious, but it's only Georgia and Armenia who reach the dark blue level. There's a few countries missing from this map, those in gray. If you have any idea of how religious they are, leave a comment below. Another interesting thing we can compare are age restrictions in the US and Europe. Age restrictions can be applied to driving, voting, tobacco, or alcohol purchases. Many of these change often, so be aware these might.
So we got unsupervised driving, car driving age. Okay, yeah, 15. They do tell us they do tell us, oh, you need parent supervision, but most times you still be like when I was young. By the time I was 13, I was like almost 6 foot already. I was like 5'10", 5'11". Matter of fact, when I was 13, I think I was 6 foot. So even if I was, once I turned 15 or once I got my permit or anything, if I was driving, they wouldn't tell that I was too young unless they just stopped me and asked for my driver's license or something. But man, I feel like when it comes to drive in Europe, you don't need a car. You don't need a car, so that that makes sense. That makes sense. Voting age, natural general election. Okay, you got to be 18 pretty much, except for in 2 area. Tobacco purchases, 21, which is crazy because you can go get a gun at 10. Minimal alcohol purchase, 21, which is crazy again because you can go get a Glock.
Might not be correct at the moment you watch. When it comes to driving, the US government allows people to drive at a much younger age. In South Dakota, it says you can drive at 14 years and 6 months. That's kind of crazy if it's true. The oldest driving age in the US seems to be New Jersey at 17. While in Europe, the vast majority of countries has a 18 years minimum driving age. Only the UK, Iceland, Hungary, and Georgia have lowered it to 17. When it comes to voting, 18 is common all around. Only in Europe are there 2 countries that differ, Austria at 16 and Greece at 17. Although I'm not sure if these limits are the same for all types of elections. Tobacco purchase is technically only allowed over 21 in all of the US, while in Europe you can buy it at 18. Alcohol purchasing is also forbidden for people under 21 all across the United States, with the limit ages varying a lot across Europe, but none being higher than 18 or 20. Although again, this also varies depending on the type of alcohol. For instance, in Portugal, I think you can buy.
I think he should have put he did put alcohol purchase age or legal age, but I knew people that were drinking in high school too. Like most people be drinking still. Like it wasn't that hard for people to tell somebody to go get something for them, or they go in themselves and still get it. But legally, it is 21. But I know some people that have been drinking probably since they were 14, 15.
Buy beer or wine as long as you're over 18, but other drinks do have a 20-year age limit, I think. When it comes to comparison between military, for instance, it's a difficult comparison to make. According to Wikipedia, the US Army has a personnel of around 1 million, counting active troops, reserves, and National Guard. And according to this 2018 article from Business Insider, the top 5 strongest militaries in Europe, all of these maps exclude Russia, are France with 390,000, the UK 280, Italy 267, Germany 200, and Spain 175. Dang. Together, these alone would surpass the US Army, although you'd still need to take into account the material advantage of the US. Ships, intelligence, tanks, planes, investment, and in these the US has a considerable advantage, as we can see from this graph depicting the investment comparisons. But thankfully, most of Europe and the US are allied through NATO, so a comparison isn't needed because in the event of a conflict, it is very likely they would be on the same side. And what about an economic comparison? The United States and the European Union are the 2 largest economies globally in nominal terms. In recent years, only in 2011 did the European Union have a higher GDP than the US. Keep in mind this excludes non-EU Europe. The US's GDP per capita is 63,000, while in the EU it's 33. But keep in mind both of these are on average. There are EU countries and US states with higher and lower values. Also, as we can see from these maps, the US's GDP is mostly carried by California, Texas, Florida, and New York, while Europe's is mostly carried by France, Germany, the UK, Spain, and Italy. When it comes to currency comparison. As I make this video, 1 euro equals $1.07. The euro's value has been higher, and recently its value has decreased a little, approaching parity with the dollar. As we can see from this graph, there was only a short period in the early 2000s when the euro was worth less than the dollar, and there was a point where it was almost worth 50% more. Recently things have stabilized and they're almost worth the same, but with Croatia joining the European currency next year, it might go up again. Also keep in mind, not all of Europe and not even all of the EU use the euro as their currency. Another interesting point to compare is the percentage of young people aged 18 to 34 that still live in their family's home, meaning in most cases they do not yet have the financial stability to live on their own. Both of these maps have data from 2015, but from the most recent information I could find about this, the numbers haven't changed a lot. In Europe, Nordic countries have very low values. They're also the highest income areas, so it makes sense people can more easily afford to live on their own, but it might also have to do with the cultural element.
Then too, like I feel like when that came for us living at home, like especially when you turn 18, like going to college, that kind of gave you your own space and some different things like that. But like holidays, end of the semester, we still had to go home. We couldn't even be on campus technically. I don't know. It might have changed since I've been in college, but I don't know if that works the same in Europe or not. If y'all want to let me know when it comes to like dorms and like just that, or they got to move in and out the dorms every semester and different things like that. But yeah, 18. I know people, they practically have to have like 2, 3, 4 roommates just to, if they wanted to get out of their parents' house, just because it's so expensive, and it's getting more expensive too.
Europe, the amount of young people still living at home is tremendous. 44% in Portugal, 37% in Spain, and 46% in Italy, for instance, while Greece, Bulgaria, and Slovakia are all above 50%. In the US, values are equally as high, with the difference being that there are no states at all below 10%.
Wow.
The lowest value is 14 in North Dakota, and the highest being in New Jersey with 46, although none surpass 50%.
And I think recently I heard that they was telling people even to rent an apartment, you had to make 3 times your income. Everything going up but wages. People are not making more, but everything is going up. That's what's ridiculous. And they telling people that you have to make 3 times your income. Where are they finna get 3 times their income from with jobs that are not paying them more?
These high values are usually connected with the fact that salaries do not pay enough and the cost of living is way too high, both due to rising prices, inflation, and also other factors. So that is how the United States and Europe compare in a number of indicators and interesting aspects. There's a lot of things you can compare the two in. If you know of any more, leave a comment and I can always make a part 2 of this. It's always difficult to be fair in these comparisons. After all, the United States are a single country and Europe has around 44, but if you take into account that the US are a federal state consisting of 50 states, the comparison makes a little more sense, especially when the size of the two is similar. As we can see on this interactive map, the size of the US over Europe is pretty close, and as you saw in the beginning, the number of square kilometers are pretty close as well. In many ways they are similar, but in so many other big differences are visible, many of which signifying a great difference in the way that people live their life and the quality that life has. Thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you want to catch future videos, and leave a comment.
This was good. I like these comparisons, like you said, just with the sizes and the different things. I mean, they're not even too far away when it comes to age restrictions and stuff like that as well. But y'all let me know what you think. You know, was this accurate for those that live in Europe? Do you feel like this was accurate? I feel like it's pretty accurate when it comes to the United States, simply because of all the stuff. We know we spend a lot of money when it comes to military. When it comes to living on your own, it's expensive. So most people probably do stay at home still with their parents just because of how expensive it is to get your own stuff. And with the credit system, you need credit. And like I said, you need 3 times your pay, your salary to even get an apartment. So it's different out here. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down those recommendations, and y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.